Welcome back to another fantastic edition of Realities May Vary. Back from vacation, he is Cody Gough. I am Brian Noonan. We are together. It's been 2 weeks, Cody. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm tight.
Is that good? Does that mean, is that what the kids are saying in the local parlance, meaning good, or have you been working out and your muscles are sore?
No, they weren't. No. People said that like 10 years ago. Thought I'd bring it
did?
back.
Bring it back tight? Is that what you're going to do? All right. Bring it back then. Whatever you need to do. You're tight. Now, is it tight or just tight?
No, the first one. Yeah, the way you did it. The way you did it.
The tight?
Yeah.
It seems like, I get it, but I'll just say fine. Fine is quicker, more to the point. I don't have to do some exaggerated craziness with my enunciation.
But tight has, what are they called? Not plosives. What are they called?
I don't know. Like what is that? Is that what you're talking about?
The t and k and duh sounds.
K and duh in
tight? Consonant sounds? What is it?
Well, a T is a consonant sound. Is a consonant sound.
Consonants.
But those are that's the only consonant sound in tight.
Yeah, exactly. I get to say tight. But if I say fine has no consonant sounds.
Yes, it does.
F is not a consonant sound. There's no way.
Well, F is a consonant.
It is, but consonant. All right, I know what a consonant is, right?
All right?
It's all the letters that aren't vowels.
That's very good. All right. I'm getting back into it. It is the first day of school for a lot of kids, so this is good that you know that.
No, this brings me back to what I was saying. It's not a consonant sound. It's a sound for when you say
like a
hard D or T or C. It is a.
It's not a sibilant S. I know that.
Why can't I find this? It's on the tip of my tongue, only I don't know what it is. But anyway, we need
to get that grammar girl. Is that who did we have on the show? Grammar girl, something like that.
We had grammar girl on the show.
Yeah, we had somebody on the show talking about grammar.
No, all right. There's a term. Please say this in the chat if you know it. There's a term for hard sounds that you make, like duh and k and that, like the hard sounds. They're called, like, they're not plosive sounds. They're not consonant sounds. So whatever it is, tight gives you two of them. Fine has two soft sounds. The F and the N are soft. So tight, you can say, this is a linguistic thing, linguistic word for when you say a hard D or T or C or why can't I think of anything besides D, T, or C?
I don't know.
B or B.
This is taking quite a turn.
I'll find it. You fill for time.
No, I can't wait. All right. Well, we're back from vacation. Veller sound, says Tom. Schwa's. No, I don't. It's not a schwa. I don't believe, Sally. Hello, Sally. Hello, Tom. Hello, Linda. Hello, Cindy. Hello, everybody. We are back. I have so many stories to tell, Cody, from my time away.
Yeah.
Because so you keep looking that up, and then we'll get into it. We went to Estes. I was mispronouncing it the whole time. I was calling it Estes Park. The locals say it's Estes Park.
Estes Park,
Colorado, the gateway to the Rocky Mountain National Park. And did you drive your RV through there?
No,
you've been to a wedding in Estes Park?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you know this little town. It
was great. Yeah.
Beautiful little town. Wouldn't you agree?
I know the wedding venue, the little bunch of cabins, handful of cabins on the top of a little hill. I mean, for Colorado, it's a mountain, a lot of mountains. But yeah, that's what I know.
The way you dismiss it, the way you dismiss the mountains. What would John Denver say?
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of, a lot of
beauty, a lot of nature.
It's not flat. It's not like Illinois. You know what I mean?
No, it was a 15-hour drive from my door to the door of the hotel in Estes Park, and we left at midnight last Wednesday morning, deciding to drive straight through. And by deciding, I mean it was voted that I would drive. Now, you know me, so you know I didn't let anybody else drive because, one, I'm a horrible passenger, And two, I don't believe Debbie and Molly are good drivers. I just don't. I don't think they anticipate well. I don't think their reaction time is good. And Debbie will sit behind somebody going 40 miles under the speed limit for an hour and a half until I literally have some sort of stroke. And then I will, because I'm trying to be calmer, in my old age. But when I'm driving with her, it gets to a point where I will finally scream, "When are you going to pass this person?" And so I wanted to avoid as many conflicts on this drive as possible. So the great thing is, and I learned this from the Great Santini, Cody. I don't know if you've ever seen this film. You ever seen the Robert Duvall classic, The Great Santini?
I don't even know who Robert Duvall is.
How can that be? Tom Hagen from The Godfather?
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall is one of America's classic actors. Unbelievable. Tender Mercies. Robert Duvall.
He's in a couple movies, right?
Couple?
No, I saw him in. I have actually seen many of his. So the Godfather films, Network, yes. Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
The Natural, Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, I've seen a lot of his.
Yeah, the guy's been in everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, in that movie, whenever he's moving, because he plays a Marine in The Great Santini. So every time he's moving his family, they leave in the middle of the night to avoid traffic. So that's what I like to do. And especially if we're going to be driving a long way, I want to get most of it done before the rest of the world wakes up and the idiots get on the road. So I want to go when I'm the only idiot on the road. And it worked out. So we left at midnight. And as I pulled it up on Waze, it said it was going to be like, I don't know, 13 and a half hours, 1,028 miles to get to Estes Park. So Debbie and Molly slept from here to basically Omaha.
Ow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They slept the first at least 7 hours of the trip, except when I had to stop and get gas somewhere in Iowa. Every time I was in Iowa, I thought of you. We went to the Come and Go, which I enjoy when I'm in Iowa.
I love the Come and Go.
I like to come, then I like to go.
Mm-hmm. In that order.
Yes, that was how I was when I was dating, and it is now that I'm traveling. So we took off. It was, I've done the overnight drives before, most recently going to New Orleans. And I'm fine at the beginning because I make myself a nice little coffee before I leave the house, take off. And then there's a point, and it came somewhere around Omaha. I'm using Omaha as a touchstone, but it was there where I got into Nebraska and I hit that wall where I was really having to struggle to stay awake.
Yeah.
And then we stopped. And I think it was York, Nebraska, where we stopped. And I had to get gas, and there was a Starbucks and a McDonald's. So we got breakfast, and now, man, forget it. Then we just plowed on, which was great. I realized as I was driving across Iowa and Nebraska that back when I was doing stand-up, I would drive a really long way for almost no money.
Yeah.
Because as we went down 80, I was pointing out to Debbie and Molly all these towns that I had worked in, like one-nighters, all the way out to North Platte, Nebraska, which is almost the western edge of Nebraska. Also home to the Buffalo Bill Cody Trading Post and Sinclair gas station, where we stopped again for gas, and Debbie wanted to go into the Buffalo Bill Trading Post. And the ultimate tourist trap, a roadside attraction, because they had some statues out front. And it's just a cheesy gift shop with a couple bad costumes in it that are purportedly from Buffalo Bill at his Wild West show. And they had like a stuffed guy sitting in a chair and bull whips for $5.99 with big signs that say, "Please don't crack the whip." The usual stuff. But I learned this about Molly. She has a thing for Sinclair gas stations. Are you familiar with Sinclair? They used to be around here all the time.
No.
And their mascot is a giant green dinosaur, who I learned was named Dino because back in the day, nobody was creative. So, and there used to be, for those people in Chicago, on the Dan Ryan at 76th Street, as you got off, there was a Sinclair station, and they had a giant neon dinosaur sign that would move. So like the tail would move and Dino's arm would go out like he was pumping gas. It was huge. And that exit was where we got off to my grandma's house. So I saw that all the time. Well, I didn't realize that Molly loved for whatever. I don't even know where she saw Sinclair gas stations before. But outside of the Sinclair gas station, their big thing is they always have most of them have a statue of a dinosaur. Well, the one in North Platte had a saddle on it. So I had to get Molly to sit on that damn dinosaur in the saddle so I could take some pictures. And to her credit, she did it. She saddled up, big leather saddle on this dinosaur. We were like the Griswolds for a few minutes. We took pictures on the dinosaur. Then we went to the Buffalo Bill trading post, and then the rest was fine. And this was weird. So we're somewhere at the western end of Nebraska, and I'm going to pass a car, a white Nissan. And as I pass this car, I look out the window, and I think to myself, boy, that looks like my cousin Maura. But I passed by and I said to Debbie, I go, I think that was Maura, who was the groom's aunt for the wedding we're going to. And Debbie looks at the rearview mirror, on the side view mirror, goes, it is. So I slow down. Here they come. Oh, we honk, we wave, everybody's laughing. And then I leave them in the dust. Because for whatever reason, they were going either the speed limit or under. And I set the cruise at 10 miles above the speed limit, and I go. And when the speed limit is 75, that means Daddy is flying. Mm-hmm. And I love it. So everything's great, here's a spoiler. A lot of this story, things are great, which for me is
pretty good,
an anomaly.
Pretty exceptional. Yeah.
Well, this is where things start to get a little bad, because now we're about 50 miles away from Estes Park. We're in Loveland, Colorado. And this is where we start going into the mountains, the really twisty, and we also start climbing. So 1, I'm exhausted. 2, the altitude is starting to mess with me because I'm getting a dull headache. And 3, I'm on these really narrow, twisty mountain roads. And the only time I blew up, like right before that, just for a short time, because all of us, we were so close. And when I'm that close, I just want to finish. And Debbie's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And we were in this, there was nowhere to go to the bathroom. So I end up trying to go into a Burger King parking lot. And so now we're in this tunnel of twisty roads. And it's been a long time since I've driven in the mountains. Now, you drove an RV through the mountains, right?
The RV was in Washington State.
So it wasn't mountainous?
It was, but I didn't really drive in the mountains. But when I did a road trip from Chicago to Los Angeles in 2011 or 2012, we took the northern route and we went up through Colorado. And so I did all that twisty-turvy. I mean, I know how it gets. It's insane.
Crazy. It is, and when you haven't done it in a while, it's a little tense. But as we got closer, I kind of got in the groove. You just kind of let your body, you swerve it, and just go the speed limit. But this is where what I hate is when you're driving, you don't really get to see anything because you're kind of tunnel vision. And in my peripheral, I would see a lot of fly fishermen because the rivers are running right along the roads in the mountains. So that was the only hard part. But then we got to Estes Park about 2:30, and it was time for lunch. Plus, I was like physically shaking. Literally, my hands were shaking, my eyes were blurry, my head was killing me. It was like I was coming down from the worst trip ever. It was just, I was like, we got to stop. It was so bad that when we sat down for lunch, I was like, I need a Coke right away because I felt like I was just going to drop. And we had done a lot of research going out there about good places to eat. We found a great one for lunch. Happened to be right there. Checked into our hotel, right on the edge of the little downtown part, Estes Park, and right along the river. Oh man, everything was nice. It was like 90 though in Colorado.
Gross.
Yes, too hot. Too hot when you're trudging your big ass up a mountain. It's too hot.
Pretty hot a lot of places these days.
It is, and it was very smoky the first day. There was a lot of haze, the smoke from a distant fire. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of that going on, but I couldn't believe it. So we get checked in, and I also forgot to tell you that we were in charge of the wedding dress. So I had the wedding gown with me.
Why were you? What?
Well, that's a good question. We had the wedding gown because Molly and the bride have become really good friends over the last few months because Molly moved in unbeknownst to her and unbeknownst to my cousin's son, Brendan, who was the groom, and his now wife, Ellie. They live 2 blocks apart. So they've become very close. You know, Molly and Brendan were always close as cousins, but Molly and Ellie have become close, so much so, in fact, and let me tell you, and I see Roger is on there. And Roger, I'm not going to ask you any questions about your trip because, and let me sidebar this a little. I'm going to talk to Roger. We may have a surprise next week. And by we, I mean me, because you're taking the week off, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Next week? All right. So Roger, free your schedule up next Wednesday or Tuesday. All right. This is how weird it is, Cody. They've become so close that Molly ended up being in the wedding as well.
Ended up being in the wedding.
Well, I say that because now the wedding was last Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, which would have been the 9th of August, year of our Lord, 2022, 2021. What year is this? I don't even know.
One of them.
I've been in the house for 18 days, years, months. Anyway, Molly comes over and Debbie says to me, "Oh yeah, Molly's in the wedding." I'm like, "What? What do you mean Molly's in the wedding?" Well, for the last couple months since they've gotten close, Ellie has been telling Molly, "Oh, I wish I knew you before because I would have had you in my wedding." Blah, blah, blah. Well, turns out one of the bridesmaids and one of the ushers got the COVID.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they could not come. So Molly gets a call last weekend and Ellie asked her if she would be an usher. And Molly was like, "Oh yeah, that would be cool. I would love it. Thank you. That's a great honor." And then Ellie called her back like an hour later, very upset, and said, "I don't want you to be an usher. I want you to be in my wedding. I've wanted you to be in the wedding for a while, but it was already set." So Monday, Molly had to go try to find a dress that would match everybody else's dress. And she did. She held it together. She got her dress. But because back to the original point, because we were driving, Ellie had asked us if we could bring the gown.
That's a high risk move.
It is a very high risk move, especially when I'm, the Jerry Reed of this Smokey and the Bandit operation. So we had the gown because originally we weren't going to go to the wedding. And so Molly was going to go by herself and drive. But so we're all going. So we had to take my car, which is just a little bigger. Anyway, so we have the gown, we get to town, and my priority is 1, stop shaking and focus my eyes so I can see. 2 is to get rid of this dress because I don't want this responsibility. I want the wedding gown out of my purview. It needs to be delivered. We need to drop it off. And so we're at the restaurant. Molly texts the bride, says, "Hey, we're in town. Can we get you the dress?" "Well, we're out somewhere. We have dinner reservations." And I'm like, "No, we got to get rid of this dress." So then I text my cousin, who's the father of the bride, and we're like, Are you guys at your place?" "Yes." "Okay, we're bringing over the dress because we don't want anything to do with this dress anymore." Right. Not that we didn't want anything to do with it. I just didn't want anything to happen to it.
Right.
God forbid. So the first day we get there, and then, even though I'm tired, I can't just go to sleep. I got to go out and explore. I got to see what's happening. So one of the things in Estes Park, I don't know if you saw it when you were there, is that aerial tramway that goes up the mountain. It's like the cable car, little bucket, goes up to the top of the mountain, and up there they have trails and they have an observation deck, and it's beautiful. So we went to find out. We had looked, we had done our research online, but we wanted to find out where it was. And so we drove up part of the mountain and found it. Well, then there's Estes Park Brewery right across the street. So, of course, I have to go try a couple beers. Here's something I learned. I can't really drink that much at high altitudes.
No.
Mm-mm. Well, 1, because I told you I had a headache the whole time. And then 2, every time I ate or drank something the first few days, I felt like I was going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 3 tiny samplers, and that was it. And I was like, okay. And the beer, it was okay. Not great. I did try another brewery. They had, I think, 2 breweries in town. 3 breweries. Tried Rock Cut, which was a really good one. And then try a little whiskey, a little local whiskey.
I love Breckenridge whiskey.
Breckenridge whiskey?
Yeah, it's I don't know if that's the actual name of the brand, but Breckenridge, there is a whiskey. You can get it around here. You can get it at Binny's. I'm just gonna Google Breckenridge whiskey.
I know Breckenridge Brewing has great beer.
It's it's Breckenridge single barrel bourbon whiskey. Yeah, you can get it at Binny's. I got some when I was in Colorado, and the last time I saw one of my buddies from Colorado, I asked him to bring me some, and it's like really good.
I got some Elkins. Elkins, it's a flavor that tastes like an old fashioned, and then we got one that's an apple.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, check out Breckenridge.
And I also got the big reusable water bottle because now I'm environmentally conscious. Plus, we needed you can't be in Colorado and use plastic bottles.
No,
it's like you're a Nazi.
I'm surprised they even sell them there. To be frank, to be honest,
yes,
to get real.
Please, let's get real, Cody. Let's get real.
We're getting pretty real. No, that's I don't remember having a lot of great beer there, but yeah, the whiskey, man, it's good.
Whiskey was good.
Yeah,
and it was so everything was great. You will like my Thursday agenda. This is where I know you and I will get into it. But let me say this about that. So we're driving out, and I'm just going to say this about people and their reaction to the COVID. Because masks have been a big thing lately all over the country. Here in Chicago, oh, such good news. The indoor mask mandate brought back today. Very excited. And by that, I'm being unbelievably sarcastic. And I want to punch every non-vaxxer in the face. But along the way, different states react a little differently. And by that, I mean Iowa and Nebraska couldn't give 2 flying Fs about masks.
Oh, they're like care. Wisconsin. They're like Wisconsin.
Oh, man.
They glare at you when you wear a mask. They give you dirty looks. You feel like they're going to pull out a gun and shoot you. That's Wisconsin. Rural Wisconsin. Anywhere you go.
And everywhere Iowa and everywhere Nebraska. Because even in places where the staff would wear a mask, like we stopped Sunday night at about 9:30, we stopped at a Culver's somewhere in Iowa. And the whole staff was wearing masks. Very nice. We had our masks on. We were the only one with masks. But it was the worst in Sunday afternoon coming back. We stopped at Runza in somewhere in Nebraska. You ever had a Runza?
What's a Runza?
Runza is a Nebraska thing. It's only Nebraska. It's like a kind of a pastry filled with ground beef, cabbage, and onion and spices chopped really thin. It's actually delicious. It's a handheld, looks like a hand pie or something, like an empanada, but a softer bread.
Yeah. Well, it sounds pretty good. I think after Taco Bell once or twice, I got the Runzas, but that was a little bit different.
Yeah, Runzas I get you. Yeah, I had them after White Castle many times. Good moment. Runzas. Man, we took some serious side eye in the Runza from people. And I thought these were good, churchy Nebraska people. Oh, man, no, they didn't like that we were wearing masks in their little Runza shop. Now, in Colorado, every place said, masks encouraged, but they didn't say you had to. So I always had one on me. If we were inside a place, if it wasn't a restaurant or something, I had it on.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I would forget.
I will say, I went to Revolution Brew Pub on Sunday to meet a friend that was in town. Nice. And I was outside and I was going to walk in. It's just their brew pub, down in Milwaukee, not the main part. And I look in and there are probably 30 people in there. No one is wearing a mask. So I walk in and it says at the front, like heroes wear masks on a sign, but I look and so many establishments leave up the mask sign and just don't take it down. And it's like, well, clearly there's 30 people in this, not that large of a place. I'm sure that I don't have to wear a mask. So I walk in without a mask. Look to my left. There's the little registry concierge.
Hostess stand? Concierge. Wow, that is fancy. I got to go to the brew pub. It's very fancy there.
There's a hostess stand and the and the bartender was wearing a mask, but it was under his nose. So I'm like,
help.
Yeah, I'm like, clearly no one cares. So I walk in, look to the left. Nope. To concierge. Just why am I saying that? The two
I don't know, because
hostesses,
you want to be fancy.
I guess the two hostesses are standing there and they got their masks on and they both kind of glare at me and do the mask in motion. I was like, oh, so
The mask motion.
I took the mask in my pocket, put it in. They're like, yeah, we require masks in here. I was like, okay. So I look over and I see my friends 5 feet away and I was like, I'm meeting them. I took 3 steps, sat down, and then took off my mask. There are situations where the whole thing is completely absurd. And I was like, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but like this, in this particular environment, I'm not really this, like what walking, it's like 3
Yeah,
foot.
it's, wait, if I'm sitting 5 feet away.
I'm not trying to defend the people that aren't doing it, all that stuff, but there is a very overt absurdity to the situation that's starting to come out. Like Friday, I'm going to a show at the United Center. There will be 13,000 people there. I don't think masks are going to necessarily make a huge difference, but yeah, what the heck?
No, but by then they will be required because Friday is when it goes into.
They will be required.
When it goes into effect.
So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt,
that's okay.
But
so the mask thing is crazy everywhere you go.
But
that's something we're all dealing with. And boy, I'm very excited that school is starting. So these insane parents who don't want their kids to wear masks can have some more protests and yell and shout down district officials in school districts that are just trying to protect their children, but are somehow stealing everybody's liberty.
Sure.
So
a lot of liberty,
a lot of rights being squashed, a lot of people's freedoms being taken away, a lot of, again, misrepresenting the Constitution 1,000 ways till Sunday. A lot of people forgetting that every time they went to school, they had a vaccine record that they had to show at school every year so they could go to school. But that's okay. We don't, that's fine. We don't want to dwell on that because really we're not going to change anybody's mind. And I have no more sympathy for people and no more patience.
Do you know what I learned that was crazy? We were doing a story on, there's like some people have the belief that like cleaning the house too much will give kids asthma. You've heard this, right? No,
I haven't heard that. Why?
Yeah, it's not real. It's not true. But
I was going to say, it doesn't sound like it.
No, there was some correlation with asthma and some kind of thing. Anyway, I don't really know where any of the myth originated, and I'm not going to perpetuate it. But what happened was we did this story because this study came out about basically refuting it and being like, hey, like, will kids get more allergies? Will they have more issues if you clean the house too much? And it was like, well, no, it's not because so. Basically, like kids need to be exposed to microbes in their environment, but the microbes they need to be exposed to aren't really the indoor ones. It's the outdoor ones. They got to be in the dirt. They got to be outside, all that stuff. So being inside, cleaning doesn't present an issue unless you're using cleaning products with lots of chemicals, and the chemicals are really bad. So anyway, it was like, so yeah, being too clean can be a problem, but not for the reason you think. It's kind of weird. But getting back to the point about vaccines, while researching the story, my co-host Ashley discovered that vaccines like the flu shot, tetanus, all that stuff, vaccines actually boost your entire immune system, not just protect you against the specific thing. So like if you get a flu shot, you're getting like a virus patch on your Windows machine or like an upgrade, like a super soldier serum. Like it's not just like, great, I'm not getting the flu. It's actually like, oh, I'm not getting the flu and my whole immune system will be stronger now. So like now I want to get, I was going to get the flu shot every year anyway to like protect against the flu because the flu sucks. But before it was like, if December rolls around and I had been putting it off, it's like, well, maybe I'll just get it next year. But no, dude, from now on, I'm always going to get it. I think we actually wrote one time that the best time to get it's in October because then they have a little bit more data and it's a little more protective. So like October 1 every year, I'm going to the place to get the vaccine for the flu. I'm just going to get all jacked up. I'll become Turbo Cody. Boom. Super excited. Yeah, dude.
You gotta have them. I never got flu shots until I started subbing. And then when you're around little kids who are just filthy, I've always gotten the flu shot. It's fine. I've gotten this shot. Fine. All these pseudoscientists. And by that, I mean, guys drinking, worried about their freedoms and their liberties and everything else. They don't know.
But you don't have any freedom. That's the problem.
No, you don't. But I'm not, again, I can't argue it with these people anymore. I don't, I'm going to wear, And I actually started wearing, just to be a jerk.
Ooh.
On the way home, I wore my big mask that says I'm vaccinated. So anywhere I went in Nebraska and Iowa, I had a big mask that said I'm vaccinated. And I would just walk in all full of myself and full of that good love juice that's going to keep the COVID off me.
Wow.
Yeah, man. But I did. After Noonan Fest, I started getting a sore throat. So I thought I might have had the COVID. And then I thought, well, one, you're not that special that you're going to be in the small percentage of people who get a breakthrough case.
Right.
But I'm also a hypochondriac. Plus, I was also going to this wedding. And thirdly, or eighthly, I was going to be in the car with Debbie and Molly for over 30 hours. So I made an appointment at Walgreens to go get a rapid test where I had to jam the thing up my nose myself. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a test and the National Guard jammed it up my nose and almost caused me to speak another language. They were screwing around in my brainstem with that thing. So I knew I had to get up there. So I forced myself to put it up there as far as I could by my own hand. It was like nasal suicide. I was doing this at my own hand and I had to jam it up both sides. I got the test back in like 25 minutes. It was negative, of course. So must be just allergies. But let me tell you what I did on Thursday. Cody, let me ask you a question. You've known me a long time. If I had told you at one point in our relationship that one of my family outings someday would be my wife, my daughter, and myself would drive through the mountains to an idyllic little town called Lyons, Colorado, and make a family visit to a cannabis dispensary.
Yeah, let's go, dude.
What would you have thought if I told you that?
I mean, I would have. I
wouldn't have believed it. If I told you this a year ago, you never would have believed it.
I mean, a year ago, I might have believed it. Like, because I never, like, you've never had a dogmatic opposition to it, right? Like when you found out that I did weed sometimes, like, you weren't like, oh, can't work with that guy. Like you weren't that way about it.
I've never been anti-weed for other people. I was anti-weed for myself.
Yeah. Now,
I was very laissez-faire in my weed outlook.
I would have been surprised, yes, but I would have believed it if you were like, hey, a year from now, I'll go to a dispensary. Probably in the last couple of years. If you told me that like 7 years ago, I'd have been like, nah, it's not going to happen.
Well, because now it's legal everywhere. And I know you remember when I was driving back with Molly from LA a few years ago, I joked about going to a dispensary in Colorado. And I almost did, but I didn't. Let me answer a couple text questions. We'll get into this. Sandy asked, yes, Estes Park is where the Stanley Hotel is, where where Stephen King wrote The Shining. I did go onto the property. We were going to go have a drink in the bar where, the scenes or some of it wasn't filmed there, but where it was set. But when we went over Thursday night to have a drink, the bar was packed. So I was like, forget it. And by this time I had a whopping beer and a half at the rehearsal. The rehearsal dinner was at a place, or the welcome dinner was at a place called The Barrel, and they had a million different beers on tap. Cody, I was able to drink a beer and a half. That was it. A beer and a half, and not like a giant boot of beer, just a regular old beer and then a regular old half. That was it.
Well, I got to hear about this dispensary.
Yes, let's go to the dispensary. All right. So the morning we went up in the aerial tramway. It was great. We were going to drive to Lyons, which is about 20 miles. I think it was south. Yeah. 20 miles south of Estes Park. Beautiful drive. Oh, through the mountains. We leave in the morning. And as we're driving through town, Cody, this is who we came across as we were driving through town on our way to. Why is it doing that?
Why is it flashing? I'm going to give myself a seizure. Hey, seizure alert. If you're watching.
I don't know why it's doing that.
That was weird. Try it again.
It was weird. There it is. So that giant elk and his friends were just hanging out on the street where we were trying to cross. So that was when we first encountered some nature. We drive down, and it's this is a tiny town. Lyons, Colorado is a tiny town. I counted 4 dispensaries in this town. Now, I had chosen to go to the Bud Depot. The Bud Depot. And I was going for this topical cream. I've told you about it. It's great for arthritis. I use it. My mom uses it. And here in Illinois and surrounding areas, you can't get the concentration of CBD and THC that this cream had. Well, I'd looked on their website and they had a cream that instead of being 20-1, like the cream I have now, was 1-1. 300 milligrams THC, 300 milligrams CBD. And I don't know much about chemistry. I don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know what a slide rule is for. Paul Simon and I like to hang out. But I thought that would be stronger. Well, you had mentioned that it's different in Colorado when you go to a dispensary. I've not been to a dispensary here. I have a guy for that. I don't really need a guy, but I have a guy. Anyway, so we find the Bud Depot, and it's a strip mall. At the one end of the strip mall is like a local Dairy Queen kind of ice cream place.
Yeah.
Then there's something else. Then there's another dispensary. It's an L-shaped strip mall. Then you turn and the Bud Depot, and I'm not being paid by them to keep saying their name. It was just a fun name and they had a great logo. Dead center. So we walk in the ratio, Marta, of dispensaries to stop signs. There were 2 stoplights in town and 4 dispensaries. So I'm not a mathematician. You can figure that out. So we go in and you have to, and you can tell me if this is how it operates here. Go into a little vestibule and there's a camera and the sign on the door says, "Don't knock, we can see you." It's like, all right, I won't. And there's a clipboard out there and there's a sign that says, "If you mention that you are taking our products across state line or buying it for someone else, we will ask you to leave and you will not be able to return." So I quick say to Debbie, "Don't mention my mom. We're buying all the cream for myself." "I know, I can read." So, okay. And this young woman comes out and she welcomes us. Now we all have to show our IDs. And I was trying to play it off like I knew a little bit about what was going on, but I didn't know anything about what was going on. So now we're ushered into the inner sanctum, the place, the dispensary. Oh, it was a wonderland of weed. There's everything you could ever imagine, Cody. You want flour, you want tincture, which I don't even know exactly what that is. You want edibles, you want some pipes, you want some swag, you want a nice beanie that says the Bud Depot. It's all in there. And thankfully, as I'm walking in, the young woman says, "Oh, what can I help you with today?" And I see the cream on the shelf behind the counter. I go, "Oh, that's what I'm looking for right there, the Pro Sport." I said, "I have a question. Now I use this one and I see you have one that's 1-1. Is that going to be better?" "Oh, yes. It's going to be much stronger." Do you know why, Cody?
Because there's more in it.
Pretty close. I didn't know this. So this is all knowledge I accumulated because, I'm always on a search for knowledge. My entire life.
You're a learned man.
I do my best to be learned, especially somewhere that I've never been before. And while this is all happening, it's also sinking in that, wow, this is a weird family outing. This is the strangest vacation. A lot of, we went on the tram earlier. That's kind of what people do on vacation. We were going to take a trip into the Rocky Mountains on Saturday. That's what people do on vacation. I don't know many families that take trips to a dispensary just to hang out. The reason the 1-1 is stronger, the CBD helps with inflammation. The THC is the painkiller. So the more THC you have in the topicals, the more it will take care of the pain. The more CBD you have, the more it will take care of the inflammation. So if you have 1-1, you're getting much more pain relief as well as the inflammation relief. So now I say, well, I'm going to take 4 bottles. And I look at Debbie and I go, "And how many bottles do you want?" And the woman goes, "Well, why don't we put it all on one account?" Because do they monitor how many grams you buy in Illinois if you go to a dispensary?
Yeah, everywhere. Every state does that.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have an in-state limit and an out-of-state limit, so you would have been able to buy less in Colorado.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe. Okay, yes. So I don't know. I forget what that exact amount was, but topicals don't count towards that.
What? Really?
Yeah, because they're not altering you. You're not ingesting them.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah. So got 9 jars of that, 5 for my mom, 4 for me. And she said, oh, I have to go in the back and get some more. Brought them out in a beautiful, oh man, I have a Bud Depot tote bag now. That yeah, man. Nice Bud Depot. So now I'm done. I could go, but now the ladies want to go shopping.
Sure.
So Debbie says, can I ask you some questions about these edibles? And there's a million kinds of edibles there. There's chocolates, there's chewies, there's, all kinds of stuff. And there's all these flavored ones like huckleberry and pear and apple and,
pamplemousse.
Something, moose tracks, chocolate butt cheese. I don't know what. Debbie says, oh, what's this? So she says, I'll get a package of the pear ones. And
peach, is it the peach rings?
No. These are a Colorado brand. I forget what I should have brought them up. There's a brand and they came in a box of 20, I think. 20 for $25, I think it was. Something like that.
Okay.
Hold on. I'll text her. See if she'll bring me up a box of the edibles. I got to tell her I'm not going to take them. But
I've had peach ones in Colorado. They're like peach rings, kind of like a Sour Patch, kind of like, but rings. Basically, they're circulars.
No, these are not. These are like little cubes.
Stand up here.
And they were having a sale. So if you bought 2, you got a third one for 12 cents, which I think is just a sale. I don't know why 12 cents. Maybe that was a sales tax. So she's looking at me and I go, well, if you're buying one and Molly wanted to buy one, I go, if you're going to buy one, you might as well buy 2 and then you're going to get 3.
It's because he went on the 12th. Thursday's the 12th.
Thursday was the 12th. It was also Topical Thursday, which I knew, which meant 10% off every jar of topicals.
Nice.
Yes. I even when it comes to weed, I'm always looking for a bargain.
Dude, especially when it comes to weed.
Yeah. So because the tax on a jar of it was $13. $13 a bottle for the tax. So I was like, but we're looking around. And so Debbie and Molly picked some of the gummy edibles. And then Debbie's like, well, what about this chocolate? And Molly's like, oh, or Molly was asking about the chocolate. So they got some sort of chocolate bar. Now, again, you would think then that we would be consuming edibles all weekend. No, they're all downstairs. And then Debbie got some chocolate peanut butter caramel ones that look like, when you go to Walgreens and there's the bags of Russell Stover candies, it looks just like that. Like you would buy, oh, here's a bag of Fannie Mae chocolates.
Yeah.
And the woman the whole time is being so nice. I don't know if she was high. I'm going to guess yes. Right? You got to be high if you're working there. Maybe not though, because she was really keeping track.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, keeping it all on one account. She's like, okay, that's you're at this many grams. You've got plenty more to go. And then they were looking at pre-rolled. Molly was looking at some pre-rolled joints. I don't think she bought any. And then she went up like into the little room up a couple stairs, and there was all the glassware, all the pipes and things. And they had beautiful little glass pipes for like $10. And she was like, well, my friends, they said I should try smoking out of a pipe. And I'm like, I don't know. Okay. I don't, whatever.
What does she normally smoke out of?
I don't
hit her.
No,
you don't really look into that.
I don't really know. And to be honest, I don't think she smokes all that much.
Sure.
But I don't know. I know she doesn't have a bong at the house.
Well, it's, early 20s, that's a good experiment time, right? Like people start to do it. You're like, oh, this was kind of fun the one time. It's a curiosity driven activity. Yes. I know many people, even in my own family, who would try various forms of ingesting or doing it, not because they did it a lot, just because it was like, I wonder what this experience will be like. So I'm guessing with her personality, that's probably what's driving it.
And it's, if they're at a, whatever. I know she's careful. I know she's smart. She's not. It's not like before where and I know where she's getting the stuff. So it's all fine. But she was like, well, and the pipes were like $10. So she's like, oh, I'm going to get a pipe. And then, oh, and I'll take a grinder. And she's buying paraphernalia. And then I think the woman threw in a one-hitter for nothing. Yeah. So it was all very clean. It wasn't like back in the day where you'd go to a head shop in the back of the record store or something and it was scary. It was very bright and shiny and everything was nice. And
so was she with you the whole time, this bud tender? Did
yes.
they call her a bud tender?
They didn't, there was no titles given, but everything was, everything. She was with us. She was like our assigned ambassador for all of this. You know, while she and Debbie and Molly were talking about the edibles, I walked up to it was like a small room up 2 stairs where they had the hats and t-shirts and the pipes and all that behind a case. And I was just looking there and, but you couldn't get to anything. Somebody had to go behind the counter, except for like a hat. If I had wanted to buy a beanie, how funny would that have been? If I show up back home now with the long hair and I'm wearing a Bud Depot beanie, just, sitting in a brew house somewhere like Joey Hipster. I've got all these stickers on my laptop pretending I'm writing a screenplay about, an old man who finally gets high and then, throws his whole world into an uproar.
I wish that would have been great. See, I went to Colorado dispensary first because it's the first place it was legalized. Yes. And when I went, it was a similar experience. The most highly regulated of all because I've been to dispensaries in Las Vegas, in Nevada, in Washington, in Seattle, and in Illinois, obviously. And I feel like there might even be Washington, D.C., right? That's legal. There's one other place I've been on my travels where it was legal. So I've been to dispensaries in like 6 states or something, and maybe Alaska. I don't remember. But the point is, the Colorado experience is very different. So I'm excited for you to go to an Illinois one because the Colorado one is has the most oversight. It's, you get paired with someone pretty much from when you walk in the door. I didn't know if that would have changed as the years went on, since it's been legal there for a while now, but it sounds to me like it's about the same. Here in Illinois, for example, the other states, really all of them, they pretty much check your card at the door. Usually there's a vestibule, a camera, a security guard. They do a little bit of rigmarole at the start. But once you're in, you go and maybe you look at a list. You can't grab it off the shelves, but it's still always behind everything. But, you can peruse and browse and look at things and write things down and people will answer questions for you. But it's a lot more like it's not more like a regular shopping experience, right? Like GameStop, basically. So, yeah, that's fun.
Well, I wouldn't say, I didn't feel like it was overly regulated. I felt that it was, and I'm sure that's the government part of it is, but it was very nice to have somebody who was answering your questions and, very knowledgeable about the products. And there weren't, we got there at I don't know, I want to say 11:30. So it was early. It was early for people to be looking to get,
Was it? Some people wait, not if you wake and bake.
I know. I did not wake and bake. I didn't wake an edible either. But so we're a half hour from town, right? A half hour back to where we have to be. We knew we were going to stop at this Colorado Cherry Company, this roadside building that advertised fresh pies and black Bing cherry cider. And we had seen it when we were going. So we knew on the way back we were going to stop and get ourselves a little black cherry cider just to try. And maybe, who knows, get a pie. So I also know that in the past, nothing hits me before an hour. So we decide, the Manson family decides they're going to take an edible about 10 minutes out of Lyons. So now this mountain road was very easy. It was more just along the foothills kind of thing. There was one little section where it was mountainy, but it was a much easier drive. And like I said, I knew I'd be back in town theoretically at the hotel in 20 minutes. We were going to stop for lunch. We knew where we were going. We were going to stop for lunch, but we had to get the edibles home so they didn't melt in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we all do an edible in the car. And it was sugar coated and it tasted just like blueberry. It tasted like a candy. It was delicious.
You didn't taste any weed in it?
No, Debbie said, now the edibles we've had before and the ones you had recently with me,
mm-hmm.
Debbie said those you can taste the weed and you can smell the weed a little. These, you could not taste anything.
Okay. I didn't have any of the ones with you recently. I didn't get my hands on any. They were
smuggled out in somebody's buttocks.
Yeah. I was actually pretty upset about that. Not that I was going to that night, but
I have some of those too.
Okay, rad.
Come over to the porch.
Well, you're coming over soon, I think. Hopefully, maybe.
I hope. I don't know. You asked for my address for something.
I keep checking your mail.
if they keep delivering it. We take the edible and then we stop at the Colorado Cherry Company and it's like, and I love these places because now I want to get some black cherry cider. So we all buy a little individual bottle of it. And then they have fresh made full-size pies, but then they have like pies the size of a Hostess pie. So we get a blueberry and a cherry and I go, give me one of the big chocolate chip cookies because I'm anticipating now. I'm thinking down the road. That might be something I'm looking forward to later. We get back to town. Everything's fine. Drop the stuff at the hotel. Now we're going to go have lunch. And now Molly's starting to get a little, and Debbie's starting to get a little, and I'm like, nothing's happening. Hoping something is going to get into it. And we're eating lunch at this barbecue place, and it was fine. And there was about a 15-minute span where I got a little bit giggly. But that was it. And again, it was like, well, I was having a beer too. And then it was all weird because I still was not feeling well because of the altitude. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really, I had a 15-minute of hee like that. That was the big reaction to this Colorado edible. But I felt very, very hippie-ish. I was wearing a Kiss t-shirt. I had my long hair going. Let's rock.
Maybe you've got a double dose. I don't know. Wow. Because your height, I don't know.
And my weight and my iron will.
Could be.
Not give in. My constitution.
I had a buddy. I think I might have told you this one time. I've got a buddy that insists he cannot get high off of edibles, but if he takes like one hit from a thing, he's gone. So some people are just that, and I've heard it the other way too. I've heard it where it's like, oh yeah, I do an edible, I'm done, or I can only get high from edibles. So maybe you just got a higher like edible tolerance. The other thing is because it was a fatty edible that you had, it probably, fat makes things take longer to digest. Whereas if you'd had a gummy or something and it was more straight sugar, then it probably would have.
This was a gummy.
Oh, it was a gum. I thought you said it was chocolate or something.
No, she bought chocolate.
Oh,
she bought a chocolate peanut butter caramel one. But this was a gummy. This was sugar-coated gummy.
Okay, then never mind. Then that should have absorbed relatively quickly. Yeah, just did you next time. What the heck? What do you have to lose?
My life. Well, I wouldn't take it when I was, out running around.
Right.
But it felt very weird. But it also was like, since it's so legal, there's no stigma anymore. Yeah. My cousins were talking about it. Everybody was talking about weed and stuff. And it's like, oh man, I missed out on the days when you had to, you had to roll it up and put it in your sock. And the only thing I was worried about was transporting it back. And I don't know what the statute of limitations is. And I'm probably going to get in big trouble for this, but we had to bring it all back. We didn't mention that in the store. We didn't get thrown out of the store. Because we're smart.
How smart?
Well, not smart enough to keep it to myself that I brought stuff back from Colorado, but
I gotta say, the last time I went to
it's legal there and it's legal here. So
I know, right?
Iowa can suck it.
The whole thing.
I blew through your town with nothing.
The whole thing's kind of dumb. The last time I was in Estes Park was right before it actually became legal there. And I was at a wedding with a bunch of stoners. They're just we're total stoners. And I kind of ruined the wedding for myself a little bit because the entire time I was like 22, right? Like I done weed like twice or whatever. But I was
done weed.
So a lot of my friends there had been doing it for longer, and I felt left out. And I was like, I really want to I want to get high with you guys. It'd be really cool. And I spent the entire night after the reception just trying to get weed from people or looking for it, and no one had any because it wasn't legal and everybody was from out of state. So it ended up being like just me being very kind of like a lame little 20-something. It would have been a more fun wedding if it was these days, but what can you do?
Yeah, it's everywhere. And I like Colorado. I've worked in Colorado Springs a couple times. I've driven through Colorado. It was beautiful. A lot of tattoos there in Estes Park. Oh man, everybody's all tatted up. A lot of tattoos, and every woman is in like yoga pants because they're all hiking. So that I dig. I enjoyed that part of the trip, and I probably would have enjoyed a little more, eating and drinking and imbibing. We went to some nice places, but man, that altitude really, it took me Saturday. I finally felt okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but we're leaving tomorrow. This sucks.
Estes Park is up there.
It's about 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then we made it up to over 12,000 on Saturday, up to the top of the mountain. But no, it was a lot of, Colorado is a lot of people who are getting stoned and are like hippies, and a lot of really, really outdoorsy kind of people. You got to be able to walk. You got to be able to move around if you want to live out there. Because you're walking everywhere, you're hiking everywhere. Your heart feels like it's going to explode every minute because you're not getting any oxygen. It's beautiful and terrifying all at the same time. And so if you can't move around and you're in really bad shape, it's not the place for you. Because there were a lot of people huffing it up that. Now, I'm not in the greatest shape, but there were a lot of people huffing it. I was huffing it a couple times on different things. But it was great. The trip to the depot was so much fun. It almost overshadowed the wedding. That's not true. The wedding Friday night was beautiful. My cousin's son, Brendan, married a lovely woman. It was outside. We were very disappointed, though, in this part of the wedding, because when we dropped off the wedding dress, my cousin Jimmy and his wife, Chris, had just come back from seeing the venue. And as they were walking down the trail, because there's a lodge, but the actual ceremony was taking place out in the, what do they call it? The prairie or the pasture. The
range.
Out on the range, yes, where the buffalo roam. Mm-hmm. But they don't have buffalo in Estes Park. But they were walking out to the pasture, and all of a sudden the person taking them out there was like, oh, stop, we have to stop a minute. There was a moose standing right in the middle of the path. And the guy was like, all right, we're going to just stand here really quiet until that moose decides where it wants to go. Because I guess moose, despite their portrayal by Bullwinkle, are not kindly natured. They're kind of mean and will kill you without much provocation.
And they're like 10 feet tall.
They're ginormous, and their antlers are ginormous. So I guess when you encounter a moose, you're just supposed to stand really still and pray that they don't get pissed at you. So we were hoping that at some point during the wedding, and they had told Brendan and Ellie, if something happens, it would most likely be a moose or a mountain lion that would. And I'm like, you gotta like a wedding where now your wedding was lovely, but there was no risk other than a gang member shooting us. There was no risk of wildlife coming down and killing somebody during your ceremony.
Very little risk of that. Yeah.
This one, there was an inherent risk, which had me a little hyped up. I got to be honest. I was ready. And they asked, like you did, not to put your phones away. No pictures during the ceremony. And I said to Debbie, I'll respect it till a moose walks out. And then I'm taking as many pictures of a moose gorging a bridesmaid as I can. I don't, as long as it's not Molly getting gorged. So it was just, so nothing happened. There were no wild animals came down during the ceremony. So that was the only disappointing thing about the wedding. It was a half hour out of Estes Park in the middle of the forest at this wild basin lodge. A lot of hummingbirds out there because they had hummingbird feeders all along the outdoor part. Oh man, 1 million hummingbirds. Beautiful. Beautiful. Haven't seen a hummingbird in a while. The drive home, thankfully there I couldn't really drink either because I wasn't feeling great. That drive home in the pitch black of the mountains, that was a little nerve-wracking because there were a number of points where if I had an error in navigation, I was going off a mountain.
Yeah.
There were no guardrails. There was nothing. It was, hey there, and then you're done. And I'll wrap this up. I'll just tell you quick. Saturday, we took a green Jeep tour into the park because I had wanted to go into the Rocky Mountain National Park, but you have to have you have to get a timed pass unless you're going to go in super early in the morning or super late at night. But we got a tour. There was a 3-hour open Jeep tour for at 5:00 Saturday. Well, it turns out everybody in the family got on that same tour. So there were all the Jeeps going out were us from the wedding, which was fun. Had to listen to a little soliloquy from our guide, Thomas, telling us his entire life story. He had come from St. Louis, Cody. He had worked in restaurant, or bar, kitchen manager. His specialty, spicy food, flavorful, but spicy. He had driven out to Denver, not knowing anybody, with only what he had in his car. Then he moved to Boulder. Then he ended up here in Estes Park. And he was going to become a journeyman butcher at the Safeway in town. But he hurt his shoulder. And then he showed us his scar from hurting his shoulder. And so he got this job and he loves it. Because if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. And then Thomas talked about a magnificent weight loss story of his own because he moved there and he started hiking. And now he's a hiker. But along the 3.5 hours, we also heard of hikes that almost killed him and encounters with moose that almost killed him. He had a lot of stories. And at one point, they all started to sound fabricated. But the long and the short of this is, on this tour, they had 4 scheduled stops. And you're going up to the summit of this mountain, which is over 12,000 feet. Way up. Way up. And the last 9 miles of this trek up the mountain are on a one-way dirt road, which, thank God I was in a Jeep driven by somebody else, because it was narrow and there were a lot of cutbacks and a lot of places where there was really no room for error because it was you and the sky. That was basically it. So they always say, we don't guarantee you'll see any wildlife. We don't guarantee it. Okay, we get it. We're not going to complain. First of all, I can't describe accurately enough how beautiful it was as we were going up. But at one of the stops, and he kept saying, because it was overcast and it was drizzling just a little, and he's like, no guarantees, but sometimes the rain brings the animals out, and they're, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So we get to this one, I think it was the second stop, and Dennis had already seen a bull moose down the hill. He pointed at my brother Dennis yelled, and we were like, oh, there it is. But most of us didn't see that. So we're driving along, and we stop at this place. And as we're walking in, a couple of my cousins are walking out because their Jeep was getting ready to leave, and they're waving. They're not saying anything, but they're waving and they're holding up fingers and they're pointing, and it's like, ooh, what's back there? Turns out there were these 3 bull elk. And I hear the guide from their Jeep say to our Jeep, make sure they stay at least 25 feet away because these guys are huge. I was like, oh, man, here we go. So we walk down the trail a little bit and we turn into this pasture. And I see 2 nature photographers. And then I see 2 elk. And one of them looked like this. Look at the size of that rack, Cody, which is really the only time I can tell you this. Without getting in trouble.
That is gigantic.
So there are
a very large animal.
There are 2 of those in the river. And I'm like, where's the third? Turns out the third is to my left, about 15 yards behind some bushes. And all you can see is this giant rack protruding over the bushes. So as we're looking at these, and everybody's being there were only 8 of us in the van. My mom didn't make the walk down, so there's 7 of us. And the guide, and then there were these 2 nature photographers. So everybody's being very quiet and staying away, and we're trying to take some pictures. And there's all kind of scat all over the ground, which was later identified as bear scat because it was big acorn-looking scat. Don't I sound like quite an outdoorsman now?
Delicious, yeah.
Scat?
Yeah. Let's go to Dick's.
Oh my goodness. It was so. we're seeing these giant elk, and then I'm getting a lesson from the nature photographers because, like on the guy I just showed you, some of the velvet is coming off the rack and the tips are bloody because as they're scraping to get the velvet off the antlers, it's attached. It's grown on there, so it's kind of making the tips, but it looked really scary. You had this giant elk with bloody tips, bloody points on his antlers. I was like, oh my goodness, this could get terrifying. And we were all worried about the one who was kind of hiding in the bushes, because if that one had decided we were done, because they had us in a triangular fashion. We could have been attacked very easily. It's like in Jurassic Park where the velociraptors kind of triangulated their attack. Remember that part?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this would have been with the elk. The elk would have done that to us.
Yeah.
But it was great. Learn this too, Cody. The higher you go on a mountain, the shorter the trees are. The same pine trees that might be 20, 30 feet down below, as you get toward the Arctic tundra at the top of the mountains, which is now again, this might all be tour guide BS, but this is what they said. The trees get shorter, and they did. The higher we went, the same pine trees now were only the size of a bush. And they said part of it is because it's so windy and cold up there that the trees can only grow to a certain point, and then they just get snapped off. So they stay very small. And then as you get past that, you get to the summits, and there's no trees at all. It's just grass. So it was crazy.
That's interesting. You taught me something about nature. Who knew?
Yeah, nature. Look, and you're a science broadcaster. You can have me on. I'll come on your show.
Talk about the acorn scat.
Talk about acorn scat and bull elk. So then we get to the top, and you know me. I like to read. I like to be prepared. I like to know what's coming. So the tour company had sent out an email a couple days before. Hey, can't wait till you to come on this tour. Remember, it's going to be much colder up top than it is down here. So wear long pants, bring layers, bring a disposable water bottle, and if you need some snacks, bring some snacks, because that's it. But dress warm.
Wait, why disposable water bottle?
Or not disposable water bottle, reusable water bottle. Mm-hmm. Reusable. Yeah. I'm gonna reuse my bottle now.
Hydrate, do it. I drink out of a reused bottle. Out of a
Molly carries hers around like a baby bottle. But now I'm gonna use this. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and my aunt did not come prepared for the tour. They had light sweaters on, and as we climbed the mountain, the temperature dropped probably 25 to 30 degrees, and the winds picked up like you were standing on Lake Michigan in February. It was insane. But everybody survived. My mom had put on a rain poncho, and at some points the wind was so bad it looked like she was being shrunk wrapped. Oh. It was insane. And we get to the top, and the wind is just howling, and it's kind of overcast, but then the sun is peeking through. My brother's like, man, the sun looks much bigger here. I go, yeah, we're a lot closer to it than we were, a couple hours ago. Now we're up, we can almost touch the sun. And tap the memory. Yes, I'm doing a little John Denver.
Was it still enjoyable up at the top, even in the wind?
It was
conditions?
Phenomenal.
Nice.
It was, well, I was toasty warm. I wore layers because I'm not dumb. And I know how to read. So it was, I'm not going to lie, it was still cold. But yeah, I knew we were going down. It wasn't like I had to sleep out there. I knew we had reached the top. So the rest of the trip was going toward warmer climates. That was... There's nothing else. So we leave the top, and we're starting to go along. We're now at the top. It becomes a 2-lane road because you could have come up from the other side. So now we're going down, and as we make this turn, all of a sudden these cars are stopped. There was another giant herd of elk just wandering across the street. Not a care in the world. They don't know. It doesn't matter to us. It was a birth pod, Cody. You know what a birth pod is?
No.
It's the cows, which are the females, the moms, the young elk, and maybe 1 or 2 bulls. So it's like it's a traveling party of a family, big family, extended family. And again, when I say this, I'm not a certified naturalist. I am not a Rocky Mountain Forest Ranger, which that wouldn't be the worst thing. Maybe, career change somewhere down the road. But I'm going off what our guide was telling us. And again, Thomas, I don't know if you know this, he was going to be a journeyman meat cutter at Safeway, and they paid really good, but he hated it. He always wanted to be outside. Oh, we knew a lot about Thomas. Next week, he's going to a Renaissance fair, Cody. And sure, with his roommate, who he met, they live 45 minutes out of town because that's where the rents are cheaper. And he doesn't mind the commute because, why not? Real estate in Estes Park is very crazy. So he and his girlfriend / roommate are going to a Renaissance fair, and she's going to do the driving so he can relax. And, so a lot about Thomas. So again, I don't know if anything Thomas told us was factual, except that we were at the top of the mountain. That I saw with my own eyes. I was like, yep, we're at the top. There's nowhere else to go. So, oh yeah, Tom, there were a couple signs about a tip. If you enjoyed your tour, be sure to tip the driver. And we were also happy because we saw all these elk, and then we saw a coyote just running around. Saw a couple marmots that posed on a rock for me. I got a great picture of marmots and a couple of really big-footed rabbits. I'm going to guess jackrabbits. A couple of those, some nice-looking birds. Did not see a moose or a bighorn sheep the entire time. And then today I'm looking at this Estes Park Facebook group, and oh man, there's moose all over. But you got to be up almost like it's sunrise or sunset at one of the main lakes to see.
Does it really matter? You saw an elk.
I saw the biggest elk I could ever imagine, and I saw a lot of elk, and one elk almost charged Debbie. So
who cares about the moose?
No, I don't. I'm not really disappointed. Because the one I showed you on the street, we pulled around and we were parked at the curb. Now they were still far enough away, and we were in the car, so we weren't being bad naturalists. But Debbie rolled her window down and was taking a picture, and one of them decided he was going to wander over. He was going to amble over to the car, see what was shaking. So she quick put her window up, and then we just sat there frozen, hoping that he didn't go, you know what? I don't like your attitude. You can't take a picture of me. And he goes all Alec Baldwin on us because he thinks we're the paparazzi. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And then, then we came home. So now we're back. We're back. The dogs were happy to see us. Oh, Gidget yelled at us when we picked her up. Yelled at us for about 3 minutes. She comes out, she sees us, and instead of like jumping up so we could pet her, she sits down in front of Debbie and just starts. And everybody who works there was just laughing, and they're looking at her, and we're like, what the? Okay, we get it. We're sorry. I know. We left her here for a few days. And now she's happy. Now she's just sleeping right next to me.
Of course.
But yeah, so that was all good. So that was the big Colorado trip. That was, I couldn't believe it. I would go back there anytime. And it's weird. Everything went well. And I credit my newfound zen brought on by therapy and pharmaceuticals.
And a lack of oxygen. Let's be real. Lack of oxygen. That's probably it.
Cody, I feel so empowered. My cardio right now is superhuman because I've been sucking wind on some of these. There was one part in the tour where we had to walk down. Well, you didn't have to, but to see this waterfall, you had to go down a very steep hill, and then obviously you got to come back up. So there were a number of those, and we did a ton of walking. You have to, when we took the tram up top, we started hiking. Molly said, this is not really a hike. I said, what is it? Well, it's a walk. I go, but we're out on a trail in a forest. So when does a hike become a walk, and vice versa? Where would you fall on that, Cody? If I'm walking up a mountain in the woods, I'm going to say that's a hike.
Only if you're really stoned. That's a requirement now. Especially in Colorado. Yeah, you got to be high out of your mind.
No,
hike. It's a hike.
Hike?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then it was a walk. Because I do not want to be, I want to, like when I'm out there, I want to be cognizant of everything that's going on. Because my senses are already being inundated with all sorts of things, getting stimulus pounding at me. I got trees and birds and clouds and hills and heat and water. And it was, oh my goodness. So there you go. There. Yeah, Tim, it is the great outdoors with Brian Noonan. I would love to. My brother Dennis he brought all his stuff so he could go fly fishing. He went fly fishing on Saturday. I saw him Saturday night. I go, how'd you do? He goes, he had never gone fly fishing, but he hired a guide because he's, well off. So he goes out with this guide. He said he caught tons of trout. He put them all back because he was on vacation. At home, he probably would have cooked them. But he did that. He was able to fish right outside his hotel and our hotel were 0.2 miles away from each other on this same river and walking trail. So we go back and forth. He was fishing outside his room. So yeah, I could go fishing. That would be all right. So a hike needs elevation change. According to Mike, a walk is flat. So I was definitely hiking because I was going like this. I had to lean and we were getting higher and higher. So I was on a hike. Damn right.
I mean, potato. But yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, being outside is good.
Being great. What'd you do while I was gone?
I actually also went to a wedding. Just Saturday. Kind of a family friend, but it was a highfalutin country club in Lake in the Hills.
Oh,
very, very highfalutin. And by
how highfalutin?
Here's how highfalutin. So it's one of those country clubs where you go in and there's it's a gated community country club, right? With these 8-bedroom houses that are all right on the golf course.
Okay.
And someone in my family was in the bridal party, and at one point they were all getting ready with the bride a couple hours before the wedding, and they asked if they could buy some alcohol from the country club where the wedding was happening. And the
highfalutin country club.
The highfalutin country club said, no, we can only sell alcohol to members of the country club. They would not sell the bride or the bridesmaids alcohol.
Wait, so they couldn't get a drink at their own wedding?
Not while they were getting ready for the wedding.
Okay.
They could only drink once the wedding reception started.
Oh, because they had paid for that package.
Yes.
Oh, that sucks.
But they could not purchase alcohol because they were not members of the country club. So one of my in-laws was texted to bring them beer. And 15 minutes before the wedding ceremony, someone from the country club gave them a 6-pack of Miller Lite and said, well, here, we're going to give this to you.
Wow. Thanks, Bushwood.
Yeah.
Wow. What a bunch of hoity-toity snobs.
It was a beautiful wedding. It was really fun. They had a live band. I had never been to a wedding with a live band. Yeah, super, super good. They were good too. So no, the whole thing was super legit, but it was just that little behind the scenes story that made you just go like, I wouldn't come back here. So
Debbie just saw my text.
All right, let's
hold on. Now she threw them and I missed them.
Oh well.
Hold on, I gotta. Oh boy, wait a second.
All right.
Wow. Under the desk. I'm wasting all.
It's a whole production now. Have the dog fetch it. Don't let the dog fetch it. That could be bad. Enough dogs would eat.
Can't hear me.
Is there an opposite of highfalutin country club, like a hick or trailer trash country club? Probably.
Yeah, public golf course. If you've ever been to a public golf course, that's the opposite of a highfalutin country club.
Although there's some really good public golf courses in Rockford. In fact, Rockford has some of the best golf courses, I believe, in the country. I'm not kidding.
Well, yeah, there's not all of the public courses are that way. All right, so Cody, here's these are Wild is the brand that we got. Hold on.
Show them up.
I'm trying. So,
all right. It comes in like a dodecahedron box.
Yes, it's a little cardboard box.
Weird.
And then you open up the box, and it's got a little it's almost like a Keurig cup. But in these ones, she brought up the ones that weren't opened. So she knew that way I couldn't eat one. She brought me up the unopened ones. So these were peach. Now these are 10 milligrams CBD, 5 milligrams THC.
Oh, so they're CBD gummies, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because they're hybrids. So I don't know. They're probably not real strong. So I probably could have double dosed them. I don't know. But they were very nice. So this is a brand that was made in Colorado. It says contained marijuana, keep away from children.
But a hybrid is, so there's sativa indica or hybrid is both But that, not that that's even rooted in science, but that's another conversation. But if it has 2-to-1 ratio CBD to THC, then that should be labeled as CBD gummy. Like, because CBD requires, I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know enough about this, but anyway, do 2 next time. Or 1.5.
I'm trying to see what it says. If it says something else on the box. It says the batch, says where it was made. 5.5 THC to 11.3 CBD per serving. Product was produced without regulatory oversight. Nice. So it's a Wild West. Hey, you're eating something that might be crazy.
There you
go.
So
this has sugar, tapioca syrup, water, peach juice concentrate, coconut oil, hemp extract oil, cannabis extract oil, and it contains coconut.
There you
The
go.
intoxicating effect may be delayed by up to 4 hours. That's long. That seems long. So yeah, these are cannabis-infused peach gummies.
There you go.
So that was, anyway, it was buy 2, get 1 for 12 cents. So we bought 2 and got 1 for 12 cents.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
no, I have not been up to a lot. I have a lot coming up. I've got, so next week, well, Gen Con.
Well, finish the wedding story. Was
that
there
was it.
anything else, and nothing else happened at the wedding?
No, the rest of the wedding was fun. I did actually get so drunk that on the way home, my wife was designated driver. We had a babysitter for the night.
Right.
And I was so drunk, I dialed 5 of my friends.
Oh.
They showed me that. No. I mean, it was fine. Like Ice Bag John. Like people.
Oh,
like,
yeah, you got a drunk dial Ice Bag John.
Yeah. And one of them sent me the transcript because, like if it's like a Google voicemail or like an Android phone, like it does the auto he sent me the thing and it is completely incomprehensible. And he said, I listened to it and I'm not sure it was actually easier to understand. And then I actually saw Ice Bag John when we went to Revolution on Sunday and he played the voicemail on speakerphone and no one at the table could understand a word I was saying. But my wife thought it was funny. So I don't know. So I might have overindulged a little bit, but it was fun. It was fun.
That's good. My, CB, not CBD, but CB, one of the Insatiable Insomniacs, has a drunk voicemail that I left for him while I was living in California.
Oh my God.
And I had come home. I think I'd come back here to work and I was out with a buddy and staying at his house and I was so drunk and we called him because he hadn't come out with us and he still has it.
I've got to hear that.
It's he's played it for me a couple times. It's hilarious, but man, I was incomprehensible.
Yes.
I'm drunk and you're not here, so you're drunk.
I gotta check that out.
I'll get it. Maybe we'll play it next week.
Yeah.
Or no, I'll play it when you're here because you're not here next week. So you started saying you have things coming up where you're going to be doing gummies and edibles and smoking weed and doing booze.
Maybe next week. I don't know. So my friends and I opted out of Gen Con this year.
Smart.
So I actually regretted it for a while. So at first I was like, this is clearly the right decision. Then I was like, oh man, now I have FOMO. And now it is clearly the right decision. Let me walk you through that series of events. Gen Con started, so remember the pandemic kind of was in remission at the start of the summer.
Yes. Yeah. We thought things were going well.
Opening up. There's a vaccine thing, cases are down. We can go. All the good things were happening. And Gen Con is simultaneously sending out all these surveys. What would make you feel comfortable at Gen Con 2021? Mandatory temperature checks before you enter the exhibit hall. Required wear masks and proof of vaccination before entering anywhere. Like limited tables, no ability to play test games in the expo hall, like all these things. It sounded like this sounds awful.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have fun, right? Like I'm mostly there to hang out with my friends. Why am I going? And like, that's not a fun thing to do all day. Right. Like, So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this anyway. Then things, got back to normal. And then, July was pretty good. And it was like, oh man, I'm hearing all these updates about Gen Con. People are on the forums. They're saying, oh, there'll be like 10,000 less people. It'll be less crowded. It'll be able to move around more. And I'm like, oh man, this is a missed opportunity to go to like a less overpacked Gen Con, right? Like maybe, get some freedom here. And then this month happened. And Gen Con, I don't think Gen Con is until mid-September, actually. So chances are things aren't going to go a whole lot better between now and then in Indianapolis.
No.
I am not regretting that decision. However, when pandemic time happened last year, I created what is known colloquially among my friends as Backup Con. And that is the first con that I have hosted at my home.
Very nice.
I had it last year as our replacement Gen Con, but it was and there was no Gen Con last year at all. So there was no option. And a few of my friends came. It was fun, but there were only like 4 or 5 people here out of my group of like 10. Well, this year I'm hosting Backup Con Part 2. And more people are coming this time. And it will be a board game extravaganza, which I was going to have over Labor Day weekend, but one of my friends has a wedding, which is very annoying. So, don't do that. Labor Day, Memorial Day weekends, like weddings, those are the worst.
My brother Dennis got married on Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, nobody likes it. Nobody's a fan. No,
that's a big, that's the weekend I'm going to see Kiss. So.
Wait, are you going to see Kiss?
Yeah.
My brother Jason's going.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there. I'm going to sit out on the grass.
Wait, that's Saturday?
It is Saturday. Yeah, Saturday I don't know.
It's the 4th.
Correct. Saturday the 4th.
Yeah, that's when you're you haven't gotten the invitation yet. You should get a thing in the mail. Check your mail.
I didn't get anything in the mail.
Right, you're supposed to come over that day, but
am I?
My brother's coming over that day and then going to Kiss. So if he can do it,
I can do both. Yeah, I didn't say I couldn't. I live close to you. I'll do both. And this. Go ahead. I'll just say this Sunday we're going to the Marvel exhibit at the Museum of Science and Industry. It was part of my Father's Day gift.
They have a Marvel exhibit?
Oh my God, this huge world of Marvel. It's all superhero-y stuff. Costumes and sculptures and stories, and it's an immersive exhibit. I can't wait. So
I got my parents gifted us a couple of tickets to the Van Gogh deal.
We're going to that. I got Debbie that for her birthday.
Oh, nice. We're going in September, late September.
We're going
early October.
I think we're going the 12th of September, something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to Fake Con or
Fake Con,
Remote Con.
Yeah, I'm a Backup Con. So I'm hosting some friends next week. Yeah, maybe we'll get real high. I don't even know. But we'll be hanging out playing games and stuff. But I got to get the house ready. Dude, oh my God, we have got such a nice house with like pretty good landscaping and like good foliage, right? Everything is just out of control. Like the weeds are like, we haven't had any time. I mean, I have mowed the lawn like 6 times this summer, right? And it was okay before it started raining, but like the lawn is not okay. We just saw 3 giant white mushrooms about 8 inches tall just sprout in the middle of my yard.
Yeah.
They're like just giant mushrooms. It's like, oh, okay. So I have so much to do this weekend and next week. It's going to be insane. But before that, I'm going to get COVID Friday because that's what everyone's going to get at the United Center.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Who are you seeing Friday?
So CM Punk, right?
Of course I do.
Of course. The like legendary, like my favorite, probably everyone's favorite wrestler in Chicago. Pro wrestler had a big falling out with WWE, walked out of the company, big like, I'm done with you guys. You suck. 7 years ago.
Oh, I knew it was years ago.
7 years ago. And everybody's, he says over and over, he's like, I'm never coming back to wrestling. I'm never coming back to WWE. I'm done, blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
All right. Well, about 3 years ago, All Elite Wrestling was born, AEW. Okay. It's another wrestling league. It's on TNT Network. It's on Wednesday nights. It was started by Cody Rhodes, the son of Dusty Rhodes. Dusty, American Dream.
Now, was Cody Rhodes Goldust?
He was not. Dustin Rhodes was
Dustin Rhodes was Goldust. Okay.
And Dustin is in it. So Cody Rhodes founded this with Kenny Omega, some other wrestlers, and this the guy in charge. Something I don't remember the guy in charge's name weirdly, but some billionaire basically. It was like, let's do a wrestling league, and they're like, great. So they launched it, and they air on Wednesdays. They actually compete with WWE's developmental show NXT.
Okay.
Which is a good show. It's actually a really good show. It's different than their main product. It's more wrestling focused, good storylines and stuff. But AEW has beat them in the ratings since they launched a few years ago. So they're doing well, and I wasn't paying that much attention. They've got some talent. They've got like Chris Jericho. They've got Matt Hardy. They've got the Big Show is over there now. Christian, some other WWE alums, a lot of new guys that you haven't heard of from TV. It's just a good, I've heard rumblings. Well, they have a huge pay-per-view in Chicago, the Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
And leading up to that, they're doing a bunch of shows. They're doing their Wednesday Dynamite show the week before that. Last week, they just premiered their second show ever. So it's always been a 2-hour Wednesday show. Now they have an hour-long Friday show called Rampage.
Whoa.
So last week was the first ever Rampage. It was from Pittsburgh. And this Friday is the second ever live Rampage. Now, normally, AEW goes to smaller arenas. They don't do the 12,000 ticket sales that WWE does.
Right.
But the day they announced that Rampage is going to be at the United Center in Chicago, they dropped heavy CM Punk references. Like, to the point where, like, they are saying CM Punk will be there without saying CM Punk will be there. And knowing the Chicago crowd, like, they wouldn't do that if he wasn't going to be there.
Okay.
The Chicago fans would literally riot.
Nice.
If they implied this heavily CM Punk will be there and he doesn't show up. The second I walk in the building, people will be chanting CM Punk. And probably the minute I leave, they'll be chanting CM Punk. So
where do you put the odds that will he just make an appearance or will he wrestle?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I give it 100.
What would you guess?
I don't know. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I've been fantasy booking in my head. I'm like, will he interrupt someone's promo? Will he just walk out? Like, he's not going to start the show, right? But it's only an hour. Like this, they're going to destroy the ratings because United Center sold out in like a day and a half.
Really?
Oh yeah, and WWE. Oh no, did you freeze? No, you didn't.
No, I did out of shock.
Yeah. WWE goes to Rosemont now because it's actually a little bit smaller than United Center. And this is a big deal. They sold out right away. I got decent seats too. So my wife and my buddy Brad and I are going to go. And I'm so hype. But I don't know. Like, because you gotta figure it's their second time ever. The ratings are going to explode. So they want to put on a really good show to get people to watch and get them hooked, right?
Right.
So I'm guessing second or third segment, and I don't know if he'll talk. I don't know if he's got to talk. He's been gone for 7 years.
He's just gonna wander out.
Yeah, he can't just like run in, like hit somebody and then walk out. Like that's not a show, right? That's not. He has to come out and say something, and I don't know what it'll be. I have a feeling he's going to come out and turn heel immediately. Like he's going to walk out to 13,000 people that are dying to see him. And he's such a good wrestler. He will make the crowd, he'll be able to make the crowd hate him by the time he walks out. And I don't know how he'll do that, but I don't know. So I'm very excited. As it's crept towards it, mask mandate now goes into effect Friday. I was worried United Center would ask for proof of vaccination because I lost my card.
No!
But you can get it digitally. So I got it off the Illinois launched a website, State of Illinois. You can look up your vaccine record.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's like ID something. But I looked up my Illinois, and on because I got it at Walgreens, and I had Walgreens send my records to Northwestern, so it's in their system. So I've got like 3 different sources now that confirm that I'm vaccinated.
Okay.
So, and my insurance company was the first stop because they paid for it or whatever, know about it. So,
okay. That's good to know because I was thinking about, I have pictures of it on my phone for when we go places. Cause now theaters, the Broadway in Chicago announced today, the Goodman announced today that you're going to have to wear a mask the whole time you're in the theater and you have to show proof of vaccination to get into a show, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that you can find it.
Yeah. It's I-Care. And it's from IDPH, the Illinois Department of Public Health. So if you go to
care at what, like
it's
.com?
If you go to dph.illinois.gov, it's there. But if you Google just I care immunization records or Illinois proof of COVID vaccine, like you'll get it. It's the top result. But yeah, you can look it up online. It's pretty cool. So I now have printouts from my insurance company and my hospital and the state of Illinois that I am vaccinated. Right. So if someone better accept that, because I'm going to Summerfest in a few weeks, and they are requiring.
Definitely, yes. Who are you going to see there? GNR?
Dave Chappelle.
Oh, that's right. You got Chappelle tickets.
And I'm going to GNR week after that at Wrigley.
Let's hope, man, because everything, things are getting nuts. But yeah. I don't foresee them canceling those. But yeah, you need that vaccination record.
Yeah. So anyway, if CM Punk comes back, it's going to be one of the biggest nights in wrestling in the last 5 years. So I'm already freaking out. I'm very excited. It's a good time.
Very nice. Well, that should be good. And you said it's on TNT?
It'll be on TNT. It'll be at 9:00 Central Standard Time this Friday.
Wow.
And
now, for one of these live TV tapings, will they have matches prior to that?
Oh yeah.
Like some warm-up matches, and then when 9:00 hits and they go live, it'll be a whole big humdinger of a thing.
Oh yeah. I know they'll start matches at 8 at the latest. They might start at 7. I'm not sure. It says the show's at 7 on the ticket. So I'm gonna try and get there. I'm gonna try and get there as close to 7 as we can.
Oh, you must. You got to see them all. Any other big name wrestlers in that league already?
I mean, yeah, I kind of mentioned like Chris Jericho's there.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan just finished his WWE contract, and he's heavily rumored to go over there too.
I've heard that name. Speaking of wrestling, there's a new show, a new drama on Stars that started Sunday called Heels.
I've seen a bunch of promos for it. It looks really good. CM Punk was involved in the production of that, I believe.
Was he? I watched the first episode. It's pretty good. It's basically about these two brothers, and they inherited this small town wrestling league from their father in Georgia, and so it's pretty good. One is the golden boy, baby face, and the older brother is the heel. He also writes all the stuff and does all that. So it's kind of cool. Nice. We'll see if it pans out over the rest of the season.
Please let me know.
I will. I think you'd be interested in it. Sounds like a fun little show about wrestling. And as a wrestling fan, you might enjoy it. Have you been watching all the old documentaries all the documentaries on Vice?
No, you told me about him.
Oh man, dude, you gotta do that.
I know. Well, no, but so in preparation of this AEW thing,
yes,
since I haven't been following the league, so I don't know all the wrestlers, and I don't want to go to a live show and not know the wrestlers. So the last couple of Wednesdays, I've been watching AEW Dynamite, and I have not been as excited about watching pro wrestling as I have been in at least 10 years, maybe 15.
And what is setting this apart, this AEW wrestling?
It's very consistent, and the world building and the character building is very consistent. Let me give you an example. Whenever someone comes out, it shows their AEW record for that calendar year.
Okay.
Walking into the match, this guy's 7-0. All right, cool. Well, he's probably going to win, but you know who the favorite is, right?
Right.
WWE does not do that. And someone made a mock graphic of the women's SmackDown division in WWE. And it said, here's what it would look like if they showed their rankings. And the champion is like 3-13. The number one contender is like 2-26.
Oh my God.
The number 3 person is 0-6. The number 4 person is like 3-5. Like everyone just loses all their matches. Just tons of non-finish and disqualifications. And there's no consistency from week to week, and characters are friends and then enemies randomly. And like AEW builds stories over time, and they have like lots of like just very tiny little subtle character traits that they'll throw out in a match. And the commentators are hilarious, and it's just like it's really tightly edited, and like it gets me thinking like, oh damn, like what if this guy fought this guy, or like, oh, what if they matched this person with this person? I have not cared about any of that in WWE since 2004, at the latest. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's next level. It's I literally feel like I'm watching late 90s pro wrestling again. It's so good. It's
Well,
like
Jim Ross
so
is
good.
involved, I see. The great Jim Ross.
Jim Ross is a commentator, which automatically makes it legendary.
Yes. It says that Tony Khan and Sahid Khan are the owners of
Tony Khan.
AEW.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it again, just looking it up. But that sounds great. It sounds, watching these old documentaries, I'm like, man, I see why I used to really like this. And on this heel show, they're using a lot of the the terminology in the old school, kayfabe, this whole thing. Kayfabe, like, so the older brother doesn't want to be really seen in town at all, even though he lives there and has a family, and he doesn't like to be seen in town, especially on match day. But he doesn't want to have to blow his cover about being a bad guy, so he rarely goes out in town. So it's very cool. Now, we've talked a lot about fun stuff. We've talked about cannabis. We've talked about edibles. We've talked about highfalutin stuff. But I know that we also would be remiss if we did not touch on some of the big news of the day. And I know you said you wanted to talk about the happy fun stuff first, and then you wanted to touch on something toward the end.
Well, I didn't care if we touched on it, but if we did,
no, I do want to touch on it. So go ahead. You can
go ahead.
Start it off.
No, you started off. I am.
Well, you wanted to talk about Afghanistan, which is a cluster F.
No,
to be quite honest.
What I said was, if you want to talk about Afghanistan, can we talk about it at the end of the show? I didn't say I particularly.
Oh, I thought you had some points you wanted to make, or an opinion you wanted to. No, it's horrible, and everybody knows that I voted for President Biden. I think there have been a lot of mistakes made in this withdrawal. I think it has been an intelligence breakdown. If you're going to do it, and now we have to remember, despite the fact that now the orange gibbon who used to run the country is backtracking and claiming that this was all Joe Biden's fault, in the summer, he made a big speech where he said he started all of this, and they could not stop the momentum of getting the troops out of Afghanistan. I think it's time that we get out of Afghanistan. But that being said, I think the current administration, if they were moving ahead with the withdrawal, which again I think is cogent because we've been there 20 years, and at some point you go, well, we've trained you as much as we can train you. We've given you the resources. It has cost American lives. It has cost America tons of money.
$1.7 trillion.
Right. And nothing is changing. We've tried to train the Afghan army and the Afghan police and all of that. And when it comes to it, man, they ran like chickens with their heads cut off once they saw that the Americans were leaving. But if we're going to pull out, it was incumbent upon, well, at the last administration, since they started this, it was incumbent upon them to lay the groundwork, and it was incumbent upon the current administration to make sure that before you make some bold announcement and lay a date, you get everybody who's helped you out. If Afghan nationals were our translators and they helped us however they did, and you know that if the Taliban comes back, despite what the Taliban said today, they're going to kill these people. And the U.S. owes those people a debt, and that debt is to protect them and get them out. So on that level, I think the administration has made a mistake. I also know that, they're already talking about going back to Sharia law, and I can't imagine the women who are in that country now saying, okay, we were making some strides and things were starting to change, and now it's all going to go back. So it's a horrible situation, but we weren't going to change Afghanistan. We tried. We did what we could, and now it's time to go, but we should have planned the exit better. And it was heartbreaking seeing the images of all those people jammed on that transport plane yesterday, and the similarities of the photographs of the Chinook helicopter with the fall of Saigon and the fall of Kabul. It's awful. And for all the people, the men and women who've served over there who now have to be feeling kind of like the Vietnam vets. We put in all this time and we risked our lives and we lost all these lives. And it's really nothing happened. Did it prevent another huge terrorist attack for the last 20 years? I don't know. I'm not a, global political expert. But boy, it sure didn't take the Taliban long to get back in and take over. When the Afghani government just goes, we're out of here. And it's like a, Roadrunner cartoon where there's just a puff of smoke and they're all gone. It's like, hey, man, what? You're not even going to try to fight for yourself? Okay, but I'll circle back to we owed the people who helped us a debt. And I think we're letting a lot of people down.
Well, I think we've been letting our veterans down for decades. We let 9/11 first responders down, right? Like, I don't think the U.S. government does a good job of paying their debts or taking care of the people that make the actual sacrifices, right? None of the guys in Washington, making any of these decisions, none of them would ever go to war. None of them.
Well, there's a few veterans.
Couple other veterans. That's about it. Yeah. But anyway, no, so it's very sad, but I don't know. People, I'm not going to stand here and piss everybody off. So don't worry about it. I'm not going to go on a thing. I will reference.
You have a right to be honest.
No, so. But I will be honest. But I'm not going to go on some anti-American rants or whatever. But what I will say is, look, you've been a long time listener, viewer, whatever. I don't tend to paint the country that I live in with, or I don't look at it through rose-colored glasses, correct. Right? And I hope that this incident helps take off the veneer for some people, because what everyone needs to think about is the fact that, during Vietnam, the American public got to see pictures of dead people, and it was very upsetting. And you saw the horrors of war, and you saw the bad things happening. You can look at it and be like, this is not good. When's the last time in the last 20 years any of you saw anything in Afghanistan? Reports of the dead from drone strikes, what we're doing there, bombings, maybe if an embassy was attacked, right. But it's kind of been mute, and it's out of sight, out of mind. And if you thought the events of the last week were kind of horrific and bad, that has been a thing that we've been participating in for 20 years to no effect. This is Vietnam 2, right? Mm-hmm. It's a big intervention that we did for no real discernible reason, for no discernible benefit to the U.S.
Well, the justification 20 years ago was right after 9/11, of course, that we were going in to stop the people who were responsible. We were going to stop the Taliban. We were going to stop Al-Qaeda. And that's why we were going over there to help democratize these countries and get these terrorists out of power.
Right.
And that has been a failure.
Well, the terrorists that we funded originally, right? In the 80s, sure. We're the reason the Taliban exists. So the entire... Right,
and now we also gave, over the last 20 years, the Afghan army all these weapons and technology that now they've abandoned. So guess who has them now?
Yeah.
That's right.
So exactly, literally we made the mess and failed miserably at cleaning it up. And I don't know. I just hope when people I want people to see more of these overt failures, because I feel like U.S. foreign policy and military intervention in my entire lifetime, if not for decades before, has been a miserable failure. And almost everything we've done is a complete waste. We've had illegal coups in other countries. We've overthrown governments. We've destabilized regions. The U.S. is the bad guy. We are the baddies. Our country, our military is the bad guys in almost every situation we're involved in. And tell me one where we're the good guys. South Korea isn't real happy with us. They would love to reunite with North Korea. We get in their way every time they try to talk. Where are we helping anyone? Not only but here's my real issue. Nazis. Here's my real issue. In addition to the $1.7 trillion that we spent ostensibly to give military equipment to the Taliban now, The carbon emissions, and like you're gonna think this is some like weird environmental stretch, but the carbon emissions from the U.S. military are just the U.S. military are significantly greater than the carbon emissions of most countries on this planet, the sum of most countries. So simultaneously, while ruining the earth with our military and spending all of our taxpayer money on doing that, we're literally destroying the earth. And I don't know if anyone saw, but the UN climate report says that we're in a lot of trouble and millions of people will die because of the climate problems. And talk to anybody in California or Utah if you think that that's, whatever. So like, we are a very bad country. And I think I want people to I want more of a spotlight to be shown on how bad we are so that someone in the voting booths or some politician doesn't walk in with rah, 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 America, stars and stripes. Let's march into some places, because it doesn't work and it hurts everyone and it makes people lose American lives and our money is being flushed down the toilet. And I have no respect for anyone running our military. And that's not to say I don't support the troops, because the troops are great, but they're not the ones that are making the decisions, period. That's how I feel about it. And so I'm glad we're out. I'm glad we're done flushing money down the toilet. I feel bad for the Afghan people, but I don't feel any worse for them today than I do from when we entered there in the 80s in the first place and started ruining everything, because we've been doing it for like half a century now. And we've paid for it. You've paid for it. Every paycheck you get where you're like, oh, where's the 60% that the government took? That's where it went. That's where it went, to that helicopter airlifting civilians off the top of a roof because we lost.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I did bash America a lot there, but we really are the bad guys. We are, objectively speaking, America is the bad guys.
It's
messed up. It's really
it's horribly messed up. It's horribly messed up. And unfortunately, this will not be the last situation like this. There does come a point where you have to cut your losses, and that's what's happening now. It's just, I wish there had been a little more planning in the cutting the losses, and I wish that the negotiations that led to this had been handled differently. But that's water under the bridge. There was a big push from the last administration to get this going and get everybody home. And that's a popular, there was a poll that came out last week. 70% of Americans were in favor of bringing the troops home. And okay. And I'm one of those 70%. But again, the military is too big to turn on a dime. And if you've got this all set up there, it can't be a one day you're there. You can't ghost a country with the military. You've got to go, okay, we're going to phase this out before we pull everything out. The people that we should have been really thanking, and your point was accurate, that, why should we think that the government is going to care about Afghani nationals who helped us when they don't really give a lot of support to American citizens who fought for them or fought for us? So yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's going to be, you're going to watch a country go back to, I don't want to say prehistoric, but, very repressed society. And if anybody believes anything that the Taliban is saying now, then come see me, because I've got all kind of stuff I can sell you, all kinds of lines of BS that I can lay out for you. Because it's not, oh yeah, we're going to let the girls continue their education. Really? What are you going to let them learn? Nothing. They can go to school, but that's it. And we're just going to go. So, all right. Well, I'm glad we brought that up.
Sorry, I got a lot more critical than I set out to, but it's how I feel. And I am increasingly, every year of my life, I become increasingly skeptical that anyone my age or younger really thinks we live in a super awesome country. Because it seems like every year we do something really, really just really bad. Like, just really bad.
Sometimes you got to people need to wipe the scales off their eyes. This is, we got to be able to, look at what's wrong as well as what's right. And you have to be able to say, okay, this has to change.
Well, it makes me wonder what's going on in Yemen. What are we doing in Yemen? What are we doing in Syria? I have no idea. I have no idea. But I guarantee you, the second we leave any of those places, they'll go exactly right back to where they were before we get there. So what's the point? Why are we doing this? There's no point. You know what the point is? It's to make defense contractors really rich.
Well,
and I know that's very cynical, but
I think there are certain situations where, it's incumbent upon us to step in. If there's, genocide happening somewhere and we think we can go in and squash the people responsible for that, help a country do that. Okay. I'm all for that, and I'm all for a military that's going to be able to protect us and our interests around the globe. But there comes a point, as I said, so now I don't want to be repeating myself, but you just got to go, all right, this isn't working. And we tried our best to train you and you don't want to do it yourself. So we can't stay anymore. We got to go, Yeah. It's like if you called me and said, hey, can you come over and help me fix my deck? And I went, all right, I can show you how to do that. And I show you how to, use a miter and all that stuff. And then I go, okay, Cody, you can do these boards by yourself. And you go, nah, I don't want to. You just do it for me. Oh, you know what? Go F yourself. I'm out of here. So I know that's a very simplistic analogy, but it's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Be like if you just went, you know what? We're moving out of the house. I don't want to fix this. I don't want to do any more work here. I'm just leaving.
Right.
Okay. You don't want to protect your own house? Nope. Yeah. I'm done. These guys are mean. I don't know if you noticed. These Taliban guys, they're not messing around. They got these beards. They got guns. They're coming in. They don't care. They're hunting down people. So,
well, on a lighter note,
there's our hot takes on Afghanistan.
So what I was talking about at the very start of the show when I couldn't speak English is the phrase is okay. So sonorant phonemes are sonorant basically includes vowels such as like it includes vowels. And it includes sounds like R and L, glides like J and W, and nasal sounds like M, N, and G. So like the names Alan, June, Owen, Renee, Will, Mara, those have sonorant sounds, right?
Okay.
They're like softer, right?
Softer, sonorant, soft.
On the other hand, the name that I couldn't remember was voiceless stop phonemes. Of course, I couldn't remember that.
Voiceless stop phonemes.
There was a psychology study we ran on Curiosity Daily where we talked about how they're associated. People's names are associated with certain personalities. So sonorant phonemes, people with names like Owen, June, Alan, Marie, they are associated with high emotionality, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. So like an Owen or a Mara would be on the friendlier side.
Okay.
Stop phonemes are associated with extroversion. In phonology, stops are consonant sounds that are formed when the airflow of talking completely stops. So that includes P, K, and T sounds. And that would include names like Chris, Erica, Ted, Katie, Tucker, and Zach. And presumably Brian.
Right.
Or Cody. So
yes.
So those are more associated with extroversion. So like just looking at the chat, like Marta, I would think is maybe extroverted would be the stereotype of the name. Sandy, maybe more agreeable and conscientious. Mike, I think that's like kind of in the middle because Mike is more sonorant and then the K is the stop phoneme. Right. Linda, more of the softer one. There's the D. So yeah, there's some gray area in the middle, but yeah, the study basically said like if you have a name like Cody or Brian that you can kind of like spit out, then people might be like, oh, that person's more extroverted or whatever, and the softer names are not. So.
And they would be correct.
Yeah,
look at that. So we leave you with a little more edutainment.
Yeah,
very exciting. Now we must remind everybody that you will not be here next week. There will be surprises galore. on next week's episode. But they can hear you every day on the Curiosity Daily podcast. Go to curiositydaily.com and hear Cody and his phenomenal co-host as they teach you science in a short amount of time. Very, very scientific. So curiositydaily.com is where you can see Cody. I will keep you updated on all my comings and goings on the Facebook page and the Twitter page, and you can follow us all on Twitter. Of course, it's the Realities May Vary, Brian Noonan Show, and producer Cody. All of that is happening on Twitter. But for the most part, during the day, you really, really have to go to curiositydaily.com. Well, listen, have fun at Alternative Fest.
Backup Con
Part 2. I look forward to hearing the stories. Now, the only thing about board games I worry about at your home, your young son is adorable and seems very intelligent, but he also seems like he would not respect a board game, that he would go up and cause, he'd be a bull in a china shop when it came to board game setups. And I'm guessing at Backup Con, they're elaborate board games.
They are very elaborate. We will keep them as far away from him as possible and just not let pieces near the edge of the table. So we'll see what we can do. Also, there's a question from Marta. Is that true for all languages? And what about surnames? I think it was just in English. And again, it was perceptions of names. And I believe just first names, if I recall correctly. So
Mike said he hears that people named Mike are douche canoes.
The study showed that too, weirdly. They specifically asked, do you think Mikes are douche canoes? 100 out of 101 respondents said yes.
Well, that makes sense. It tracks with what I know and the people that I know.
Sure.
And Mike. So it tracks. It tracks fine on that. All right. Well, listen, have a great time at Backup Con. I can't wait to hear about it. Have fun Friday night catching COVID at your wrestling show, because I'm guessing a lot of wrestling fans, one, they probably have some sort of lung disease from just screaming and hacking. And no, I'm kidding. Please, wrestling fans, don't at me. I'm teasing. But have fun there. That sounds like a lot of fun. We'll be looking forward to hearing all about CM Punk if he comes back or if he doesn't. We'll want to hear about Backup Con when you come back and all the rest. But everybody else, Cody won't be here next week. I will be. So I hope you will join us. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to this wherever you find podcasts, and click a like button. I don't know, but just subscribe. That's all. And Cody, anything else? We had anything else? Oh, I went to your salon. Couldn't tell. I had 2 inches taken off the back of my hair.
I cannot tell.
I know. I decided I wanted to keep it long, but I had her trim it up because your wife told me if I didn't cut it, it would stop growing.
Yeah.
And the stylist was like, "Oh, that's true. You don't want to get split ends." I said, "No, I don't want to get split ends.
I'm on split ends.
No." So, I've decided I'm going to let it go for a little while longer. Who knows? We'll see.
I've been letting myself go for months, so let's just do it.
You and me both, brother. It was well, listen, I got a little box of fun that I may have to go dip into, but I will talk to you soon. Have a wonderful enjoy your cut. What is that?
You got a gummy in here.
I was going to say that's the ultimate signal that somebody was getting high back in the day. Is they had either that or an empty film canister. The 35 millimeter film canister, the black one with the gray lid that all film came in. Oh man, everybody.
It's a good idea.
Was getting high had those. So we'll have special guests next week. Cody will be doing God knows what with God knows who, wearing a cloak. Do you wear the cloak at Backup Con?
Yeah, if the air conditioning is on high enough, yeah. It gets warm. It's just duo suede.
I would love to see a picture of you in your cloak, just sitting at your kitchen table playing Yahtzee. I don't know what kind of games you play. Maybe
I wore the cloak on the podcast in October.
That would be fun during Halloween, the Halloween Spectacular. So I think it was Linda asked about any more thoughts on the remote show. We're always thinking about it. Who knows? We got to get somebody to sponsor. Got to find a place. We'll see. But we'll keep you updated. But have a couple of fun weeks. And I will talk to you.
You have fun weeks too. You and Roger or whomever have a blast.
We will have a blast. We'll keep busy. We'll have all sorts of reports about different things. And that's it. All right. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the podcast and have a lovely time till we speak again. Bye-bye.